Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thanks for joining us today. It's April 22nd, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern. We come every week, Tuesday at this time, to take your questions about U.S. immigration live. And we take your questions on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. So, what you got to do here, and the answer are for general education purposes, not intended as individual legal guidance. Post your questions, and as long as they're not too specific to you or not too vague or too broad, we'll give you a better understanding of what the situation is with the immigration system of the United States, which is constantly changing. As you know, there's a lot of scary stuff in the news. Some of it's not real, some is real. Some is real. Yeah, that is what it is on some. But that's the situation we're dealing with. And we come here every week for the last 5 years, and hopefully, God willing, another 5 years or more to take your questions to help you better understand the immigration situation. If you did want to have a private consultation, the thing to do is to go to our website, our contact page on jqqlaw.com/contact, and fill out that short box there so we know what's going on, what kind of case you have, and your contact info. And we'll let you know if we need to schedule a consultation. Usually we do if it's the kind of case we do. For example, we don't do asylum cases. We don't do cases where people have arrest history or conviction history. We don't go to immigration court. Our primary focus on people who are married or bringing family members over, people with extraordinary ability, that top people in their field, and people making small businesses in the United States, E2 visas, L1 visa transfers, that kind of thing. That's our primary focus. And again, citizenship is a typical thing, reentry permits, removal of conditions from I-751, reentry permits from I-131. That's the bread and butter of what we do, and we're really good at it. If you check out our reviews on Google, you'll see what people are talking about us and what they think. Again, it's the JQK Law Firm, jqqlaw.com/contact. But in the meantime, if you're here, shoot out your questions and we'll get the party started talking about U.S. immigration. Having said that, let's talk about some stuff that people are really worried about. Obviously, there's things going on at the border that are scaring people. Most people will be okay. I'm getting contacted by people who are citizens afraid to travel. That's very unlikely to have problems. People from all over the world, like Europe even, they're afraid to fly in the United States. Very extremely unlikely they're going to have problems or stuff like that. The reason why you hear stuff in the news is because it's so rare that when it happens, it's very scary and they bring it up there. But it is not common practice or for the most part, it's not any different than it was before. It's just getting reported on, so we're getting scared. But it's the same stuff that's always been. The only main thing that's different that we're seeing are student visa holders. They're really messing with student visa holders because they're just denying them and stuff. That was a mess. So if you're a student visa holder, yeah, that stuff is worse than they even reporting it. That's the news. You can't rely on the news. They either don't report something as a big problem or they report something as not a problem. That's the nature of fake news and all that kind of stuff. Mohammed asks, hello, have you ever filed from I-566 and I-508? You don't necessarily need to file both of them nowadays. I filed from I-508. Those are for if you're in the United States on some sort of diplomatic status or State Department status. So that's like A visa, G visa, NATO visa. I filed it in relevance to the E2 investor visa. If you're, a certain country passport holder, you start a small business in the United States, then you want to file for adjustment of status, a green card in the United States, you have to file this form to give away the rights and protections you have it's not a big deal. It's just like a one page. It's 2 or 3 pages, but the information is like one page, just your name and phone number and address, that kind of stuff. So you give up the rights and protections afforded to you as like a, it's not a big deal, but you have to do it. What you'll find is most immigration lawyers won't know that form exists and they won't submit it with your case, which is a problem because most USCIS immigration people don't know it's a form either. And so you'll send that case in, and then, years later, they'll notice that that form is missing. That could be a problem later because the lawyer didn't catch it or USCIS didn't catch it. So that's the one thing. A lot of people don't deal with it or study the laws on that, so they're unaware of it. So it's glad you mentioned it. It's important to have, Muhammad. It pops up. And thank you for the gift badge as well. And Sassy, as you as well. Debashi says, can you adjust status on a visitor's visa with a green card holder? It's unlikely to be able to do that. I'm guessing you're married to a green card holder. There's a delay with the visa bulletin where unless your case is current, you're able to adjust. And then you run into the issue of potential immigrant intent, saying you came as a tourist visa holder for temporary visa, green card. Were you lying when you got your visa? Were you lying at the border? Is this fraud for not being forthcoming of an actual intent when you're here? So I say you got to be careful for this. Now we've had it proved like this, where a person is here in the U.S. and to visit their husband or wife, and then a couple months into it, a lot of times they learn like, oh, I'm from Pakistan. It's going to take 3 years for me to be able to get a green card. I didn't know that, but if I'm in the United States, I get it in like much faster time. Or at least stay here with my spouse. Or they change their mind. They get pregnant or something like that. They don't want to travel anymore. So if there's a good reason and then it wasn't the original intent, we filed these cases. A lot of lawyers are afraid to file these cases. So you'll find stuff online about this, a 90-day rule, this kind of stuff that'll scare you. We got to pick and choose if it's based on the facts is appropriate or not. So we have a consultation. We can talk about that. M. Saudek, good to see you. Says, John, God bless you. God bless you as well, brother. Thanks for all the help on answering my question for the past 2 years. Our IR1 case was successfully finished. God bless you, M. Saudek. So happy to hear that. You got the green card, or at least the visa, I'm guessing. That's wonderful news. So we're happy to be here and share this information. And Saudek, I'll be a little selfish at a time. Please type in JQK Law into Google and just 5 stars. It helps out a lot. You don't have to write anything. The more stars, the better we'll know the kind of services we provide and kind of attention we. But the best is part less, and then you got the visa. That's one less hurdle in life until the next one. But I'm glad to hear it. Let's see. Drew asked, just got to approve her advanced parole pending I-485. Is it safe to travel with reckless driving? No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't travel if you got a reckless driving. Don't do it at all. Stay in the U.S. and have the paperwork proper. You should have a lawyer with you at this point if you got a reckless driving to kind of keep an eye out on things. Forrest says, can you please give me a quick from checklist for adjustment of status application and cost? No, it's different. I just had a consultation with someone who's doing an EB adjustment of status. You might be doing a family-based. I don't know your background. It's not the place for me to give quick checklists. That's individual legal guidance. Please schedule a private consultation. Mohammed says, hello, have you ever filed I-560s and I-520 for A2 visa doing adjustment status through marriage? Not for A2. I haven't really ran into an A2 person, but it's just the same as the E2. It's not much different. And Dovi says, hey, hi, if I'm on OPT, can I apply for citizenship? You have to be a green card holder for a certain amount of time before you file for citizenship. So your question is, can you file for a green card? And potentially, if you have a green card case, it's more about whether you have a business possible, either a family-based or employment-based or asylum. It depends on what the situation is. Sebit asks, hi, my mom has 10 years visa to enter the U.S., but she has a Swedish passport, but traveled to Iran as well. Will she be denied entry into the U.S. applicants? So because she visited Iran, she won't be able to use ESTA, the 90-day visa waiver program. Now, with regard to her 10-year tourist visa, one is, if she visited, mention the application, the country she's visited 5 years or something like that, if was honest, whatever. There is a chance they get her because of that. Likely she probably could travel. It's unlikely. It's not impossible. It's unlikely she'll have a problem as long as the DS SU2 visa is properly approved and information is proper. But note that you can't use the visa waiver. Ken says she's probably Iranian, I'm guessing, from your waiver program anyways in the first place. Ken says, if you come over the border, can you get married, apply for a green card? No, because you have to have lawful entry to be able to file for a card in the United States, unless you're in a marriage relationship with some sort of exception. Hazel happens to someone who admitted having kids on the DV2 and filed I-130 of his kids and has filed I-140 and 400. It's bad news. When you're filing for the diversity visa lottery, all the information has to be correct. So if there's inconsistencies or incorrection, things that are incorrect, now sometimes you don't have to mark your kids, depends on the situation. But if it's you fail to provide perfect information, they could take away your green card and kick you out. So that's a problem. Carl asks, can I travel with only travel documents? I don't have a green card yet, granted asylum. So you got to get a refugee travel document and use that. And that's hard because a lot of countries won't accept it. You'll need visas and stuff. Getting a lot of repeat questions. Please don't repeat your question. I'm going one by one. So in the very rare case I miss it, then wait some time, but I'm going through everything. And Darby says, if one is on asylum, are they allowed to study in the U.S. if given a social and EAD card? Yes. Doom says, is it bad to travel outside the U.S. months after arriving and getting green card, spouse visa? No, it's fine. Sometimes people enter the U.S. to get it, and the next day they turn around. So it's not a problem. You shouldn't be outside for extended periods of time, but that's not a problem. It's not travel. Getting a lot of people repeating their question. I answered these, and it makes it really hard to keep track of what's going on when you ask the same question over time. So please, especially on TikTok, that's where people do this. Please don't ask the same question 50 times. The best place to get my attention is you go to our YouTube page and follow there, JQK Law YouTube or U.S. Immigration Talk, because the formatting on there is much easier to read than on the phone on TikTok. So if you have more chance of getting your questions answered. Okay, Greg says, I'm a naturalized citizen. Should I be scared to travel internationally? Not unless you had like lies or omissions in your travel in your N400 application. Khalif says, how does a Canadian required immigrant visa enter the U.S.? How does a Canadian required an immigrant visa? I don't know what your question is, Khalifa. Please reword it so I can better understand what you're saying. Canadian Key says, if marriage gets denied, will the person find the I-485 going to removal or deportation? Technically, yes. Historically, they'll just like forget about you. You try to see how to get it approved or appeal it or fix it. But now the policy memo that came out a few weeks ago said that if you're denied, they should put you in removal proceedings. And so that's what happens. Yeah. Daniel asks, hi, I'm applying for student loan grant would negatively affect your immigrant visa case. Well, the thing is, when you apply for student loans and grants, sometimes it asks for your immigration status, and you have to be honest in there. Sometimes people mark that they're U.S. citizens or green card holders, and that could be an issue because it might be a fraud issue. So the problem with the loan or grants right now, unless Trump changes rules, is if you mark your residency status incorrectly, and particularly if you claim to be a U.S. citizen. Brett says, you think it's risky to apply FOT DS11? Maybe they don't return my original certificate, no passport. I think you're asking about a passport. You're getting you're just got the first time you're applying for a passport, and everyone has to turn in the certificate. Unfortunately, just have a copy of it, a picture of it, or something like that for your reference. But it's standard. Everyone has to do that. Unfortunately, Bread Knight. You're welcome, Daniel Abraham. Dior Mani says, if USPS lose your green card, how long does it take to get replaced? That's a unfortunate question, Dior Mani. Anywhere from 2 months to 3 years. It's pretty devastating when it gets lost. Mohammed says, I-566 should be fine at foreign missions, or is it okay? Mohammed, if you want to schedule a private consultation to get that specific to who signs the forms and stuff like that, please schedule a private time on that. This is for general guidance only. It's been 24 EAD and I-130 approved 8 months ago. I-45 is still pending. Is that normal? I don't know what kind of case. I don't know what kind of I-130 case you have, your background stuff, and there's no real normal. Yeah, it's probably too long, but at the same time, I see these things go forever too. So it's kind of like hard to say. Jesus, can he not file for I-130 if he omitted to put the kids on the petition? I mean, it's gonna if it was improperly not put on the form, filing the I-130 could open up a bag of worms, and they'll look at his green card and say, "Oh, it was invalidly issued," and they'll revoke the green card. So that's a possibility. Yeah. Isabel says, is there any concerns to renew green card? These questions where you ask any, it's like, I can't say that. It's like asking like, will the sun come up tomorrow? It probably will, obviously, but it may not. So as a lawyer, I'm not allowed to say that. I can't give certainties on things I don't have control over or information. So Isabel, potentially you might have some sort of arrest, or your name is the same as someone else, or you did some sort of violation in your past that you're not even aware of. We have it all the time where people contact, almost every time someone does a consultation with us and they say, oh, I have a clean case. 100% there's some issue that they don't even aware of. That whenever people say I have a clean, easy case, we dig into it and they're like, oh, okay, you had this violation 3 years ago. That's a problem. So it's impossible for me to even, I can't talk about there's a book's worth of concerns I have. But whether it'll apply to you, probably less than 1%, but it's not 100%. So it's an impossible position to answer that question. You need to have an individual consultation, review your history to see if we could catch anything, maybe do a FOIA request for your background, stuff like that. Khalifa says, yeah, I got denied entry to the U.S. because I didn't have an immigrant visa. Okay, I don't know what your question is, Khalifa. Let's just schedule a consultation and see what happened. Las Liva says the interview for my adjustment of status application was last week. How much longer do I have to wait for my green card? It's however long the officer wants to take. You're welcome, Brett Knight. Oriel says, is the Lake and Riley Act retroactive? I think it is. I haven't dug deep into it. I usually don't handle cases where people have criminal history, but I think it is retroactive from the lawyer statute, so don't quote me on that. Uzo says, can a green card holder with extension letter travel? Yes. Now, whether I'm not sure if you have any particular issue with your case that's problematic, but generally, yes. Away says, hi, I need a little assistance for Form I-485. We only handle the entire case, so if you want us to prepare and submit on your behalf, we can do that, but schedule a consultation, we'll talk about it. JC says, do you work with clients from other states? Essentially, most of our clients are in other states. All the immigration work that we do are cases where we mail the government stuff. So our location doesn't matter. We have clients in every state and every country in the world. Not every country, frankly, but most of them, obviously. So yeah, we do that regularly. I just had a consultation with the gentleman that was in Michigan right before this, actually. So yeah, he was asked the same thing. I said, no, your paperwork is all by mail. Now there'll be an in-person appointment for his particular case, but his case is really clean. He doesn't, in my opinion, need to have a lawyer at the interview if there's an interview. So main thing is just doing the case in a clean way and having an extra pair of eyes kind of keep it on top of the case as it's pending. And that's it. Boss Lady asks, thoughts on travel with pending I-751. I have to see the strength of your I-751. If it's a weak case that may get denied or something like that, then or you have also immigration background, you have certain violations or fraud or something like that, then it's not good. But if it's clean, then it's okay. But one thing I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, what you think as a person who's not in the immigration space think is a clean case is different from what I think is a clean case, because the way that immigration is so complicated. It's like taxes, where you don't even know where you went wrong sometimes, and it's until we dig in deep that we find it. Like I had a consultation with a woman today, and she, speaking of other states, she was in the East Coast. I don't want to say the exact state, but southeast of the United States, and she was asking one question and really worried about something that wasn't even an issue. And then as we were digging in, I realized they had made an error on another application, which is probably going to cause her husband potentially be deported if he doesn't fix it. So it's kind of like she didn't even realize that was an issue. And she's like, oh, my husband talked with the lawyer. He had a phone call for 20 minutes with them. I'm like, that's not a real attorney that's prepping. The lawyer has to get in there and read the case, and they should have notified you. I found within a second of her telling me the information, I realized what the issue was. That the attorney should have caught it. So that's another reason, if you're going to consult with lawyers, you have that patience and maybe prepared to spend money. But talk with 3 or 4 different immigration lawyers. What you find is if you talk with 4 immigration lawyers, you're going to get 5 different answers. Imagine that. But that's the reality of the law. It's complicated. People have different experiences. Some people know what they're talking about. Some people don't. Like, I'm open. If I don't know something, I'm like, listen, I don't know the answer to that. Let me research and come back. Well, other people, they might feel insecure and they might just make something up so they don't look like they don't know what they're talking about and just let it go. But that's like going to hurt your life. I can't do something. I'd rather, my ego get crushed. I don't know an answer rather than put you in a bad place. Kristen says, thanks for all the information. Here's a complicated one. Okay, let's see how it goes. All right. Thuri says, thank you, boss lady, for the gift badge. Thureen says, I got my asylum interview date in June after 9 years of waiting. God bless. Do I have a good chance? I don't know your case. I can't really answer that question. Austin says, okay, skipping my question. Thanks, Austin. I haven't seen your question. So if you feel like I skipped it, then go ahead again, post it. Sabi says, do you assist with J1 au pair visas? No, we don't do au pair cases. Tanishka says, can a green card holder travel multiple times from U.S. India in a year? Yeah, that's fine. Just you have to be living here as a green card holder, but if you have trips and stuff, that's fine. Sonny's, I'll answer your question, Sonny. I don't know if it's normal or not in your case because I don't know all the facts, but sometimes it takes a while. Mitch says, I got my interview coming up. I'm scared. My wife and I are young. Well, then, if one is schedule a prep session for half an hour with us so we could go through the paperwork and act like I'm the officer to see if there's issues. And the thing is, if you're local, I could potentially, or my associate could go with you, but it depends on your location. So contact the office, jqqlaw.com/contact. Let us know what city you're in, where your interview is, and what date it is. At least have a practice session that might help relieve some of the worries, and we'll catch any problems. We'll see from there. Eop says, can people still come? Yeah, there's millions of people coming all the time. Mitch says, it's New York. So my associates in Virginia potentially come to New York. If it's coming up, I'm not sure you have time to come there, but you can schedule a practice session with us. We'll spend, half an hour to an hour going through your case. Ideally, you have a copy of your case. We ask questions from it. And then that might, spot any issues, or if it's really clean, I'm like, okay, you're good. Just, stick to the truth. Eop says, can people still come from foreign through visa and ask asylum? Yeah. You're welcome, Mitch. And Tanisha says, I have my exam in India, so I have to go and come back multiple times. Is that okay? Yeah, I mean, if there's short trips and stuff, it's not a problem. Emma says, if the officer after a marriage interview says approve, will it definitely be approved for a green card? No, not definitely. Sometimes they approve, and then afterwards the computer says something different, or there's something that comes up. So it's until you get the green card in hand. Even when you get the green card, sometimes they'll revoke it after the fact, say it was incorrectly approved. But most likely, yeah, if he says approved, it'll probably be approved, but I've seen it not. So it really depends on, these are 1% kind of things, but that's the thing about law. It's like, it's not no black and white, it's law. And especially with the government and the errors they make and all that stuff. So you never know. But usually, I can say usually, but there's no guarantees in any of this. All right, so we got a couple more minutes left over in our weekly show. Please throw out your questions on Instagram. What is it called? LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. I think I have 8 more minutes of time and 8 more minutes of voice left. I'm drinking my hot tea. I had a lot of consultations today, so a lot of talking. Jackie says, your opinion, please. I live in California, but I'm thinking about hiring an attorney from Arkansas. Is that typical to do that, or is it a bad idea? He's experienced in immigration matters. I don't know what kind of case you have, Jackie. So potentially you might need a lawyer that comes with you or knows the local rules, depending on what the need for it is. But at the end of the day, if you're really confident in that lawyer from Arkansas, then do that. I mean, hopefully the decision is just not based on price or something like that. But if you're really confident in them, then that's the because like, look, we handle cases from other states, but if y'all want to check it out, go to a website called immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. You'll see I have a whole podcast where I train immigration lawyers. I talk with lawyers from every country and every state about immigration law and stuff. So like, if there's a situation where I have a client in another state, I have resources where I can like contact someone in that state and be like, hey, give me the lowdown of what I need to be aware of there and get information. Not every lawyer has that network or has even patients go and ask. They're not humble enough to ask for help from other lawyers and stuff. So I don't know who the lawyer is, how skilled they are, what kind of case you have, what kind of issues you have. It really depends on the situation. So as I said earlier, I have a client that just hired us. He's in Michigan. In his case, it doesn't matter if I'm in Michigan or not. Everything is cool. But potentially if you have like criminal history, which he doesn't, then I'll say, yeah, get a local attorney to come with you to the interview and knows the local laws and all that kind of stuff. So it depends on the actual facts of your case. Molly asks, what with that K1 visa? I'm not sure what your question is, Molly. Please rephrase it. Eob says, can I travel using a travel document and a green card and come back safely? Was a customer asked me. I need to know more about your background to be able to ask it. Yeah, please schedule a private consultation. Christian says, me and my wife both had B2 visas. By mistake, my wife forgot to renew the I-94 last time we entered the U.S. CCP canceled visa, yep, but they admitted her with a new visa. I-190. Okay, we left USC before it expired. Okay, so that's nice of them they did that. Les says, hey, big fan of yours. Thank you. How long are joint I-751s taking to process? Anywhere from 6 months to 2.5 years on average, sometimes going towards 3 years. Christian says, now she can't get another visitor visa from any U.S. embassy. It's up to the embassy if they want to prove it or not. So it's up to them. There was a question on the DS-160. It depends on the embassy. It just depends on them. You're welcome, Jackie. Molly follows up with the K1 visa. Do I need 2 pictures too? For the I-129F, you need 1 photo for I-129F K1s. For the I-130, you need 2 photos. And when you go to the embassy, depending on the embassy you go to or the doctor you go to, might need more pictures there too. And then adjustment of status, you need minimum 2 photos. Brett says, do you think naturalized citizens are treated differently than regular citizens? Not usually, but I mean, depends on your background and what's going on. All right. Tammy asks, I got a green card 5 years and not with wife, but divorced. Can I apply for M400? I need to review an individual case, Tammy. Please schedule a consultation so I could actually see what happened, the history of it, all that kind of stuff. To schedule a consultation, website is jqqlaw.com/contact. It's jqqlaw.com/contact. I have to mention that we have a guide. It's 50 plus pages called the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide for Marriage Cases. And really family cases all fall within it. But it really goes into detail. A lot of these things helped a lot of people. If you want to download for free, go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com to check it out. Again, it's marriageimmigrationlaw.com, and you could check that guide out there. Abdulaziz says, I have 9 years of cook experience and 1 year diploma. Am I eligible for H-1B? I'm not the H-1B. You're probably not. You probably need more work history, but I'm not the H-1B attorney in our office. My associate is. So you have to schedule a consultation so you can review your background. I don't talk about H-1Bs. Sim says, is long absence on green card 6 years ago a problem at 400? Not historically, except Trump administration may hassle you about that. It depends on how long it was and what happened. But last time Trump administration wanted to crack down on that and it stopped when Biden came. So there's some risks, but typically we file them and it's been approved. So, but there's most likely it's okay, but there's some risk. Abdulaziz followed up. Yeah, I don't answer H-1B questions here. Rarely, it's got to be a specific thing. Christian says they refused my wife twice. Now I'm planning to apply for F1, F2 for my wife. Do you think they can turn my wife down knowing your immigration? Yeah, they can, unfortunately. You just got to mention what happened. That has to have mentioned on the DS-160, but that can happen. They can get denied. Guita says, I have a pending green card application. Do I have to do an interview? It's been pending for 2 years. Depends on the government if they want you to come to an interview or not. It's up to them. Thank you for the gift badge. User 45 says, I had some waivers during adjustment status. I am okay. Had some waivers. Okay. I'm not sure what the question is or what kind of waivers or what was going on there, but okay. Sim says, thank you. You're welcome. So we got a minute or two for some last questions. Again, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. I focus on U.S. immigration law. Headquartered in Los Angeles, so we do cases all across the country. The best way to reach us, go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact, and fill out that short info situation there so we can see what your case is about and we can respond usually pretty immediately or within 24 hours. either asking for more questions or guidance on how to schedule a consultation. He also says Jerusalem doesn't accept travel document, but I was looking to travel there for religious presuppose. But I got my travel doc and green card through asylum. Can I use my own country passport? So yeah, historically they don't say anything, even though it's against the rules for you to use your home country passport. So my recommendation is legally no, don't do that. They've never said anything about it; just let it go. But under Trump administration, I wouldn't mess around with something like that. So that's that. Christian says, "Thanks for the info. You're welcome. I wish you the best on that F1 case." How long does it take a marriage-based green card for marriage? There's like so many different types of marriage green card cases and processes and backgrounds and all that kind of stuff that it varies dramatically. 3 months to 5 years. Little Thinger says, would there be an issue in the Caribbean turnout for renewal of U.S. visa? Would it? Maybe. It depends on a million different factors. It's not something I can answer here. It depends on your background, what the consulate things, what history you have, what kind of visa you're doing. It's just too many factors to be able to answer that. It's too open-ended. All right, I'll take one or two more questions and we'll call it a day. I'm Immigration Lawyer John Khosravi. Shoot out your general education requests right here. We'll do our best to answer it. Just a little background on me. I taught at law schools, Loyola Law School, Pepperdine Law School. I also trained other immigration lawyers through the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. Publish a magazine on immigration law. It's a trade magazine. It's more technical. Go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Do it there. Sim says, how much is it for a consultation? Depends on the case and the issues. So just go to our website, jqklaw.com/contact. Fill in that box and we'll let you know there. Strong says, my son was pending for 7 years. Yeah, sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, it does take forever. Eob says, thank you, mate. You're welcome. Thank you for asking a question. I hope you're able to visit Jerusalem. I bet it would be a wonderful experience. God willing, you'll have a chance to do that. Okay, so all right, that's it for today. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back again next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm Immigration Lawyer John Khosravi. I have one more question. Preet says, I'm a citizen. Can I apply for a visa for my parents' in-laws? They could file for their own visas. Everyone files for their own visas. You're not applying for anyone's visa. Unless you're doing a green card kind of visa. And in that case, U.S. citizen can file for the parent, not for the in-laws. Your spouse would need to apply for parents if she's a citizen. But when it comes to non-immigrant visas, then that's that. Guida says, where are you? Are you a lawyer? Yes, immigration lawyer John. Put my information into Google and you'll find a lot of stuff about me. JQK Law is the place to go on YouTube and put in ChatGPT, all that kind of stuff. You'll have all the information there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back in next week. Until then, have a good one. God bless. Be safe.